He's 35 with $30,000 saved. How much does he need to invest monthly to reach $1 million by age 65? That seems to be the goal everybody's trying to reach. So we love to answer questions like that. We create spreadsheets on this channel, Million Dollars Made Easy, to show you that it really doesn't take that much if you have the times. Well, let's take this individual, 35 years old. He has $30,000 saved. 30,000. We're going to have him saving just $350 a month. I'm going to have him increase that by 3% a year. Now, what in the world do you think he's going to have in 30 years? He's 35 now. We're going to be looking at the 30-year column. In the next 30 years, he will have put in $229,817. What we're going to do is use the returns for the last 100 years, which are right here. Now we're going to run the numbers to see how many times in the last 100 years he would have made it to $1 million. And in the worst case scenario, what would he have? So that's what we can do on this channel, is run numbers for people. Again, $350 a month, increasing that by 3% a year, and he already has 30,000. Let's go ahead and update this and show you the actual number. You may have thought he was getting a late start, but look where he might be in 30 years. Just using the numbers for the S&P 500 for the last 100 years. These are the actual returns. These are 1925 numbers going down through here. Those are the returns. This is what he'd have after 30 years, $1.788 million. This is the actual graph. The numbers were like 1925. Of course, none of them are going to be identical, but you can see this graph no matter what year I pick. Watch how the graph takes off. It may be a bumpy ride, but look how it takes off. Even 1929, when we had 4 down years, took a while to get going, but then look how it takes off, so that in the end, you ended up with more than $2 million. There's the 1929 numbers right there, $2,073,000. And in this row, in this column, the worst case scenario you're going to see in the last 100 years, given these numbers, you'd have $1.169 million. The red is always the worst case scenario. This color right here is the median in these columns. The median in this column would be $1.788 million. And the maximum you see is $4.237 million. Again, this is what we do in this channel. We use the actual historical returns to the S&P 500, and we simply project what some returns might do for you in the future. And we end up with a possible range of what may happen in the future. Can you believe it? A 35-year-old the next 30 years can take advantage of this kind of growth, the compounding growth that we see. Anytime you run it 30 or more years, you're going to see these kind of graphs. I can just go down through here and show you. Just look at these graphs taking off, folks. This is 1932 numbers, 1943 numbers. It just takes a while to get going, but that's what compounding can do for you if you have the time. So again, worst case scenario, $1.169 million, median $1.788 million. Let's do one more thing. Let's say just do $300 a month and see what those numbers might do. Now we see in the worst case scenario, you'd still have over $1 million. That's $300 a month, increasing it by 3% a year going down through here. That's starting with 30,000. He kind of thought he might be behind with 30,000 at age 35, but since he's got 35 years, look at the kind of numbers he can have. What's the actual breakdown? 100% of the time, color-coded in green, he'd have over $1 million. 32% of the time, color-coded in blue, he'd have over $2 million. And it's actually 4% of the time, color-coded in gold, he would have had over $3 million. Now, if he could carry it out 2 more years, till he's age 67, he would have put in this kind of money. This would have been the minimum. This would have been the median. And then you see the breakdown, the 32-year period. Let me click on that. Now you get 51% of the time getting to $2 million. Now you got 13% of the time, color-coded in gold, you're getting to $3 million, and it's obvious if you go out a little bit farther, you have these kind of numbers. We're looking at the 30-year column here, just showing him the kind of money he might have. He's not really that far off from being able to get to $1 million 30 years from now, just contributing $300 a month and inflating that by 3% a year. And if the numbers are anything like I've done for the last 100 years, even in the worst case scenario, he would have $1 million. Now, we also like to do this in our videos, showing you what these amounts right here that are showing having buying power. So we always use like a 3% inflation rate. The buying power of this $1 million in 30 years is going to have the buying power of 442,000, 1.6 million at the buying power of 663. He would be a millionaire, but he wouldn't have the same buying power as $1 million does today. But we want to run the numbers just to show you what it takes to get to $1 million. That's why we call our channel $1 Million Made Easy, because it doesn't take that much. If you have 30 or more years, you start carrying out 35 years, and you can see the kind of numbers you're looking at. If he had these kind of amounts at age 30 and at 35 years, then he'd be reaching $2 million in the worst case scenario, almost $2 million in the worst case scenario over a 35-year period. Again, that's what we do on this channel. We love running numbers for people. Please consider subscribing, sharing, liking these videos. Let people know there's a channel out there that run numbers for them, point out all kinds of different issues. It doesn't take as much as you might think to get to $1 million if you have the time. In fact, I got a sample graph here. 1929 returns the worst case scenario you could think of, the Depression years, and yet over a 35-year period, somebody investing $250 a month, if we had returns like 1929 going forward, you'd have a $2 million in a 35-year period. But thanks for watching.